Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. Great to connect with you, Kapil. Uh, behind this, behind the stage, we actually realize Kapil is my college senior as well from IIT. So we're reminiscing about the days in college and how things were so far different compared to where it is right now. And and yeah, in fact, I just wanted to start off with this entire thing on customer experience, right? And suddenly a buzzword, Amazon got it going and everybody started talking about it. But if you really look at in 16th century, in Europe, people used to go out, used to buy from a shop around the corner, and the level of customization you would get in products at that time was probably incredible because there were no products otherwise coming from mass production, industrialization, and it was, be it an armor for a soldier or a shirt or a piece of clothing, were essentially customized for. And then, of course, the technology advances, the technology disruption of industrialization happened, and then we came to standardized products, standard retailing, and it's interesting to see the dawn of the century now with online and another technological evolution which is happening with internet coming through. We have again started talking about customization, again started talking about customer experience, post-purchase experience. So it's great how things coming back in circles. I'm a consultant, so I like putting some numbers out, and that's what we do. So just for everyone, so we did a research with Forrester, PwC and Forrester did a research, and we realized between the laggards and the leading player of who focus on customer experience, over a period of time, we actually saw over a period of 5 years, we saw the leading players were actually generating 20-25% higher revenue on an average compared to the laggards. In addition, they were also showing 10 to 15% better pricing and a significantly higher ROI on anything that they're investing on, be it technology and process. And I'll just bring you in, Kapil, to get you in. From your perspective, given the technology stack which is there, I want to know how is technology really disrupting this? How is technology really enabling omnicommerce and customer experience to really come together?
Thanks, Kushal. I hope I'm audible. Uh, I think you rightly pointed out in the earlier eras, there was a lot of personalization. We saw a lot of standardization coming in to get mass access, and now we are again talking about personalization as the consumer is getting more and more demanding. Um, and we are entering this era of omni-channel retailing, wherein we are seeing both offline first brands. Some examples were quoted before our session started of them coming online and becoming D2C. And we are seeing digital first brands, so-called D2C brands like of Mama or Sugar, etc. They are going offline. So we are now in this era of omni-channel retailing. And I think it's a combination of three things coming together, which is technology, process, and the talent or the ecosystem. I think for anything to become or have mass adoption, these three have to come together. Prior to pandemic, I think there was technology available, but the right ecosystem wasn't available. The brands probably were not taking it as seriously. Consumer, all this while has been omni-channel, right? All of us, even when online started, used to shop online, like the example that was given of uh, going offline to do Sunday shopping. So there were examples of customers trying out different products, but ultimately going online to search for better prices and then buy online, or vice versa. You discovered some products online, but you wanted to do touch and feel and buy them offline. I think in the last 2-3 years, we have seen significant advances on these three aspects: technology, process, and talent slash ecosystem availability, which is making it easier for brands to become omni-channel. Uh, we are seeing consistent improvement, I think, over the last 3 years. In the pandemic, we had seen almost like 70 to 80% growth in online orders getting shipped from store, and it still continues to grow at 50% plus even in the third year. So as this piece is maturing, where omni-channel, and there are different aspects of omni-channel, but we are seeing this world converging, wherein today, let's say, online orders getting fulfilled from store is coming into uh, like early teens, so that this number used to be like 1 or 2% is coming to now anywhere between 15 to 20% for some large offline first brands. This is where we have come to, And I think technology has definitely played a big role there. And what a brand typically what it looks for, I think one is capability do to offer an integrated omnichannel experience. It is important that the different systems are talking to each other. They have an integrated backend to be able to offer this omnichannel experience. And this omnichannel is consistency in price, consistency in your promise, your value proposition. They shouldn't feel that they're talking to two different brands when they're talking or interacting with the brand at different channels. The second thing is what omnichannel entails and what technology has been able to do is to unify this data at one place. So now a brand has access to unified data through which they can offer an incredible experience in terms of not only their post-purchase journey, but as well as their pre-purchase journey, which has led to their revenue increase. We've seen uh, omni-channel brands typically get 20 to 25% higher revenue compared to brands which operate in silos, and obviously cost efficiency. So through ship from store use cases, we are able to see logistics cost come down for their online orders by at least 30% when the dispatches are happening right from their nearest store. So they can, during the pandemic when the stores were shut, brands were forced to adopt this, but after they started adopting it, they realized these were benefits accruing to their top line as well as bottom line. And that's why we saw massive adoption happening of omnichannel in the last 3 years.
No, thanks a lot, Kapil. And I'll just pick up the point you mentioned on the while revenue, the customer is really evolving, and we clearly see advantages from the customer and therefore the demand generation side really coming through. I just want to take a bit on the cost side, and we work with a lot of traditional brands, right? And gentleman here was basically saying that even D2C, digital native brands, saying that they don't want to focus on technology stack. They don't want to get into building, figuring out what it requires to get things online and get things omni-channel, right? Uh, what according to you are, and given those impediments that brands today feel about technology, and even if they invest, how much should they invest? Where do they start from? Whether they will invest, whether it will, as you mentioned, whether it will integrate, whether it will work through. Those are actual problems and issues that brands are essentially and founders are essentially facing. Uh, how do you think, according to you, this entire cost side barrier will play out and how it can really be elevated?
Sure, I think definitely that's one of the big concerns when a new brand is talking about adoption, technology adoption. But I think over the years, one, there is clear ROI established. Like at Unicommerce, we've worked with 20,000 plus brands. We're powering about 20% of India's e-commerce volumes today. And we've seen their brands also evolve in terms of their adoption of technology, because now they've seen the success story across so many brands, right? Where many brands where Unicommerce has also been implemented. So now that playbook is readily available. So compared to 3 years ago, today there's an ecosystem available. So the technology cost and even the adoption. So the costs are both. One is the cost of using the technology. The second is adopting it, doing change management, the whole cost of getting the right talent to be able to implement it. Thankfully, now the ecosystem is available. Costs are not prohibitive at all. Like today, there's a ready stack available if you were to just start your D2C, right? It is just need a Shopify, Unicommerce, and probably your ERP, and this stack completely works well. And if you want to do fulfillment, you will probably need a ShipRocket. This stack is readily available at very nominal prices for you, probably cost you about less than a percent of your GMV today. And with this, the ROI of at least 20-25% revenue increase consistently. We've seen many brands grow like 8 to 10x in 18 to 24 months after adopting the right technology. So when the ROI is so skewed in so favor, I think now brands have realized that it's kind of a no-brainer, because as you rightly pointed out, if you're laggard in this space, your competition is going to move ahead. They are going to offer a much superior customer experience to their end customers, thereby driving sales from your own brand, and thereby it will have a compounding effect. So the costs today are not prohibitive, neither in terms of the direct cost of purchasing the software, nor in adopting it, because there is ecosystem that's available. It's very plug and play today. Thanks to players like us and few others, it's an integrated stack that's already readily available at a click of a button. So the adoption becomes far easier, and there are right process playbooks and talent that's available which can operate some of these softwares. Hence, the costs today are not as prohibitive. It in many cases is an unfounded fear, and many brands are realizing that. And in fact, some traditional brands are also taking the route of looking at taking stake investing in their D2C brand so that the talent or technology is readily available, and that playbook can be replicated to the large business. And for a D2C brand, it becomes a win-win because ultimately we're seeing D2C brands also have to go offline, and they get a wide access, distribution access to be able to leverage their network to get their own brand scalable.
And that's very interesting. And I hope you're speaking from your personal experience that a lot of people are asking for stake in your company. That's great. The cost is really non-prohibitive, is what you're saying, and that's what we're also seeing. Sort of people in terms of the adoption that are really happening. The second question that brands really ask for, and like what to implement and what to adopt. There is so many words, buzzwords, so many omni-channel journeys going around. There's something called BOSS, buy online, ship from store, buy online, pick up in store, reserve online, pick up in store, book trials. What should brands be really focusing at? And given the India context and given sort of literally your penetration across channeling 20% of India's GMV in e-commerce, where do you think should brands be really focusing more and where they should be focusing less in the omni-channel journeys?
Sure. So Kushal, as you rightly pointed out, there are multiple journeys. I think prior to pandemic, we saw endless aisle wherein a customer walking in and they are not able to discover a product of their own size. Let's say you walk into a shoe store, you like a shoe, but it's not available in your size. It gets ordered from another store, it gets delivered to you, or it can come to the same store itself in some time. I think that was one use case where we saw adoption in pre-pandemic, but during the pandemic, a big use case that picked up was ship from store, which you're saying as a boss, buy online, ship from store. This was accelerated also because marketplaces also became omni-channel, led by Myntra, then Flipkart, Amazon, all of them. Encourage brands to list their store inventory. It helped them help the customers get access to a wider pool of inventory, a wider catalog, and help obviously in pandemic as the offline stores were not working. It helped brands leverage or utilize their working capital better, bring down the logistics cost. It was a win-win. And we've seen some categories do this much better and have been the early adopters, fashion being the first one. Then we've recently seen eyewear, beauty and personal care category being some of the early adopters of this. So these two use cases are the most common one. Then there is buy online, exchange in store, pick up in return in store. These are nascent use cases. But now that there have been many success stories in the industries that I talked about, and typically in this journey also, the first journey started with company-owned COCO stores getting adoption first, because that's where the brands had more control on the processes. Then this got extended to COFO and FOFO stores, which is company-owned, franchisee operated, or franchisee-owned, franchisee operated. Then some of it is expected to now go to multi-brand retail and eventually to distributors. So that's the value chain today. So depending on the mix for a brand, we have seen higher adoption of omni-channel in these categories with these brands. So if the brand has a higher mix of EBOs or let's say COFO stores, there is a higher adoption. But it is as they've seen ROI in these stores, we are gradually seeing adoption in other industries and other use cases as well. But today, if you speak, I think endless aisle and ship from store are two big use cases that we've seen are seeing in omnichannel.
I'm just seeing cognizant of time, but just want to push in one last question. And so a lot of is largely more controllable when you do it from own website and your own warehouse. Uh, what brands are also struggling is marketplaces order and connecting that into omni-commerce. Have you seen brands struggling with that? Have you seen what kind of sort of incremental challenge? Because marketplaces have very strict metrics that you have to adhere to. How do brands really navigate that?
So I think omnichannel not only means combining your offline and online inventory, it's also your website and marketplaces. I think again, over the last 3 to 4 years, brands have realized that for them to be successful in their own e-commerce slash D2C journey, both marketplaces and websites play a very important role. And I think marketplaces have also evolved in terms of handholding brands. There's again an ecosystem available for them to work together with marketplaces. Whatever said and done about D2C or the website traffic, marketplaces still control the lion's share of the e-commerce volumes. And that is where platforms like us play a vital role, because we are powering 120 plus marketplaces and website platforms on our platform. So today for a brand, it becomes quite plug and play as far as post-purchase experience is concerned from a marketplace management perspective. So I think with the maturing ecosystem, we are seeing brands being more amenable to marketplaces along with their website. So while they can do a lot of experiment on their website, but the scale or growth comes through marketplaces. So I think brands realize that. So typical playbook that we are seeing is that brands are utilizing marketplaces to get the scale, and websites are largely for experience, like their loyal customers coming in and experiencing the brand on their website, where they can control the messaging. So that's the playbook that we are seeing evolve, and that has worked really well for even large-scale D2C brands, whether it's a boat, Mama Earth, and many of these are our customers. I think that playbook, they are together in harmony to offer a consistent experience to the customer. I think that's the playbook that brands have realized works beautifully well for their success.
Great. Tanzo, I just want to bring in the audience. If we have any questions from the audience, there is a wealth of really practical data, knowledge, and information. So, questions from audience? There's a question there.
Hi, good afternoon, sir. I am already a customer of Unicommerce. You are into the maybe I think it's a more decade. You are using the data science through the omni-channel and using the marketplace. I wanted to know how the difference between the European market and this European Western market, as well as the Indian market, because there is a burning point of the COD returns. So, how you are catering that Indian mindset to reduce this pain point for the retailer?
So I think returns is an intrinsic, it's a necessary evil in e-commerce, as we say. So I think it was important in the early phases to drive adoption, and what technology has been able to solve is ensure that the return process is seamless right from the time of initiation of return till the time the goods come back to our warehouses. So we have a comprehensive returns module that we've invested in over the last 2 years to make sure that this entire journey becomes quite visible in terms of data reports, your own inventory availability, and a seamless experience to your end consumer. And given as you rightly pointed out, we've been serving the industry for a decade now, so we have wealth of information that's available, basis which we are able to give nudges to the brand about do intelligent sort of return monitoring and make sure that to optimize their processes. So typically after implementation of Unicommerce technology, and you would probably have experienced this yourself, we've consistently seen at least a 30 to 50% reduction in returns by just having the right processing technology in place. And I think that's our endeavor to ensure that we're able to do this for all brands who use our platform.
And since you mentioned the comparison between Europe and India, we work across brands in both geographies. Just breaking up the returns conundrum, we see it's largely driven by three factors, right? One is, of course, size, the other is product defects, and the third, which is the biggest, is actually the behavioral part of it, which you were also mentioning about. And definitely what we have seen is between India and Europe, the behavioral part is actually lower. So compared to that, that sort of is a stark difference coming in because the e-commerce and the industry is much more matured. The customer is also much more matured. I think we're time's up, and let's move into the next segment. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks a lot, Kapil.
Thanks,
It was
Kushal.
really
Thanks,
interacting with you and
same here.
catching up with you.